Hey guys, Hey Dragon here, back here with yet another Hunter x Hunter video. And in this video, I've got a little twist for you. I'm doing a character analysis of Feitan, but I'm going to do it with the purpose of trying to portray a point that I believe him to be the most underrated member of the Spiders. Now Feitan, as we know, is one of the original members of the Phantom Troupe, and he grew up in Meteor City. We see that Feitan was very close, of course, to Finks, and they were a very tight group, and they all had this rivalry where they all fought over old parts. We saw that Feitan, before all the others, he already had those dark triad traits about him. He'd clearly already been through some things we as viewers and readers don't yet know about. And he's always been a character that's very much been linked to the underworld, and is a very, very dark figure. When we first see him, he almost reminds us of a Zodiac. That's the impression he gives off. And as we see, he is one of the members that's really impacted by Sarasa's death. Now, of course, in Meteor City, people dying and people getting kidnapped is just a regular thing. Unfortunately, when they're doing the Super Power Cleaners performance and they realize that Sarasa's missing, everyone in the audience respectively understands what's happened. She's been kidnapped and unspeakable things have happened to her. And we see that one of Cyrenix's men is involved with this. And of course, all the original Phantom Troupe members, there's a separation between them and the newer members. When we look at the newer members, of course, we've got Bolenonov, we've got Shizuku, and we have Kaluto, and just all these members, right, of course, with the exception of Hisoka and the Lumi, that have their own complexes and have always grown with the dark in their own respects. But aside from them, all those members are very much more light-hearted. We see Bonedelov is very much, friendly competition. We see that Shizuku is humor. We see that Shalnok is very much optimism. But all the original members have very dark Nen abilities. We see that Machi's got these threads she can strangle people with. Of course, we see that Feitan, his ability is literally built on the pain that surely he must have felt. And this is the thing that I find very interesting about these original members, is that all their Nen abilities in their Hatsus were built off that trauma of Sarasa's decapitated head being what they had left of her. Sarasa was one of them. She was one of the original Phantom Troupe members, and Feitan seems to be the one that's delved the furthest into the darkness. Now we see that Feitan, he's a master torturer, and his Hatsu, in particular his combat Hatsu, is very reflective of the person he's become. As we see him in the series, he's a character that's always ready to fight. He always gives this imposing vibe and has a very binary view on life. He views everything as fights or flights. He gets offended, of course, when Nobunaga could dare suggest that Chrollo could be scared of Hisoka. And he's always the first person to want to kill people. He wants to take out Gon Killua. He wants to take out Hisoka. He's very much in that mentality that the threat is always there. He lives in his nightmares. And he's always portrayed in this color scheme, his color palette, as his very, very dark character. We see that, of course, the most evidently in his combat Hatsu, as I mentioned before. What's really interesting about Feitan is his Nen type is Transmuter. So as a Transmuter, his combat Hatsu, Pain Packer, is actually Conjuration. Now, this is very bizarre, right? Because normally your combat Hatsu would be your actual, Nen type. But, of course, Conjuration isn't that far in the Nen shot, so we can see how it happens. But the thing that gets even more interesting from here is, of course, he's got variations of his Pain Packer. The only one we've been privy to and seen is Rising Sun. Now, Rising Sun is a mixture of emission and transmutation. Now, of course, transmutation we know is a transmuter, but he's got emission in there. Now, emission, if you can picture the Nen shot, is on completely the other side. So there is no way he should, under normal circumstances, have such a powerful emission technique. And this drives us to his character arc, right? And how his nen is based off himself. As we see, his nen type of Kohatsu, Pain Packer, is essentially, it's almost like the APR of Knuckle and how it works. The more he is damaged, the more powerful his ability gets. And what I find is very interesting is the trigger to this ability, as we can see, of course, Nobunaga explain, and then afterwards also Benelanov explain, is this activated by his rage. So he's actually got a two-system conditional nen power. What it is that his rage activates it. Of course, the level of rage he feels, which he's someone that's very instinctual, fight or flight. So the more he gets damaged, by extension, the more angry he'll get, will activate to see how powerful the initial conjuration of his Pain Packer is. And how much damage he takes, of course, is how powerful the ability that he then goes and uses from the initial Pain Packer becomes. We see him laugh, a very sadistic laugh, and tell Zazan that if only she dealt more damage, she could have died quicker. He is someone that's very much this very mysterious figure. As much as we do know things about him, we also don't. This is one of Togashi's fortes, is that he's able to sprinkle character nuances, but also keep intrigues at the ones he wants to keep a mystery. Out of all the characters in the Phantom Troupe and their backgrounds, he's the one we know the least about of the original founding members. And he's someone that's very varied in his skill set. He's a very useful Phantom Troupe member. We see that they leave all the torturing up to him because he's just so competent and he's got such a keen skill set. He's a master swordsman, just like Nobunaga. He's one of the fastest in the series and in Hunter x Hunter. And he's got incredible stamina. And we see that even after losing an arm to Zazan, he's still got incredible endurance. And his ability makes him even more durable. He's got the IQ as well. He's a smart person. We saw him figure out Hele and what Hele's moves were. And we see that he's very much also a protective figure over those he deems worthy. We always see him standing behind the other troop members, symbolic of a father protecting their children. He's someone that's really been through hell and back. We see it through his facial expressions. And whilst Togashi doesn't plainly mention it, it's not in our faces, it's not the most obvious details. We see moments of retrospection, moments when he's in thoughts, and we see just how much more of an extremist he is in comparison to the other troop members. So that's really the bulk of what we know of Feitan. Of course, I'm going to delve into some more things, but onto the aspect of why I think he is the most underrated troop member. Now, of course, there are a lot of Feitan fans out there, right? There's no surprise. You go on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you'll find a lot of Feitan edits. But the majority of those edits are by people that either find him attractive or think he's cool. Now, I think himself as a character is the most underrated, because when people think of Feitan, they think of this cool, almost dark variant of Killua. But Feitan is a character that's, he's always rational, right? There is a sense of control within the chaos. We see that he's always holding himself back. He's always ready to go, but he always has that anchor to him. The anchor being his friends, his family. And what's intriguing with him is that how he's pulling the trigger and then letting go. There's always this tug of war we see happening with him on screen, where he's constantly switching between attack, defense, attack, defense, attack, defense. And it's really sad. And it's just really, I suppose, it's refreshing, right? To have a character that's constantly in an extremist situation. The Phantom Troupe are this band of thieves, yet lots of them are quite normal. We look at Shalnock, we look at even Crollo, right? He's got this whole existential crisis of trying to figure out who he is, but he could pass off as a normal person, but not Feitan. You know, imagine putting Feitan in a normal situation. Imagine him being a bartender. He can't. Even when he's there, acting to pretend he's there for the auction, he's got this massive grin on his face. He just can't separate himself from the troupe. And as we know, this is the troupe's last mission together. If they can survive, of course, the Black Whale, which is a massive if, they will disband and Feitan will be left without purpose on his own. Feitan is someone that always is rocking with the others. He's very much a people pleaser, but only for the troupe. And I find it very interesting, just his attachments, right? He's clearly got an attachment issue to the troupe because to him, it's the only thing within his life. He's the one that truly enjoys fighting the most aside from Uvagin. And he always feels like it's a game. It's something that he can benefit from. It's a very maniacal mindset. But at the same time, it really sheds a lot of light of how his childhood must have been. Because often in media, right, and I think that Togashi, this is of course speculation on my behalf, has done it deliberately that this is his form of living out his childhood. It's his form of fun, friends. Clearly, he's never really had that. When he was with Nobunaga when they were all young, Nobunaga was really the one that did all the talking. Feitan almost seemed shy. He wasn't really communicating. He was more of a character in the background. And he's really come to himself and grown into his own personality due to the Phantom Troupe. And it's really intriguing because he's a character that is the only one that doesn't have this bouncing off effect with Gon and Killua. You see, Gon and Killua, they kind of interact with the troupe. Of course, Gon asks Chrollo the question. They have that friendly interaction with Shizuku. Franklin remembers him. You know, Hisoka has that dynamic with Gon. And Feitan is completely indifferent. He's a character that we only see him in relation to the troupe. All the other Phantom Troupe members, they've got links, they've got branches, they've kind of got social lives to different degrees. And Feitan doesn't. Feitan is, by all extents and purposes, a loner. He's a lone wolf. He has his pack, and his pack is all he knows. He is so attuned to death and so desensitized that he was the one least affected by Uvagin dying. And even by Paku, he was only affected due to having Paku's memories, where he was able to hold himself back and not kill Gon and Killua out of respect for her. Feitan, as the number 2, and as the ranking system suggests, he is one of the ones that Chrollo trusts the most. And the reason why Chrollo trusts him the most is that he's the one that embodies the spider. He's one of them. There's quite a few of them. And we see that when the spider are having this civil war of sorts, right? You've got this whole situation where Chrollo is being kidnapped. And you've got Pakunoda, who's being used as a messenger by the chain user in the in and outs between communication. And Feitan saying, F this. Let's kill anyone that disagrees. And let's just get the boss back. He is completely in the mindset of the spider, right? When the head falls, a new head will be created. This organism, this mythology that lives on beyond the individual deaths of whatever member it might be. And that's why, to me, he is the most underrated, because you can tell the most about the Phantom Troupe through his character. All the other characters, to different extents, show us the human sides of the troupe, right? They show us the personality, the brotherhood, the family. But Feitan always shows us the darkness, the intense, all the intangibles that make the spider without the added personality and flair. We see his disappointment after torturing people and them giving in so easily. It's like, it's so sadistic. It's exactly what you would expect when we first hear about the Phantom Troupe, when Kurapika describes this murderous band of thieves that committed genocide on his species. And I really think that, I wouldn't say it's missing within the troupe, because he himself is enough to carry the entire aspect, but he really keeps us in the mind that this is a villain group, right? Because it gets hard, the line gets blurred, there's this grey area of morality a lot of the time. And Feitan is there to always nudge us towards a conclusion that the Phantom Troupe are antagonists, no matter how much we like them. And that is just so incredible for the story. And yes, that is why my character analysis on Feitan, and why I believe he's the most underrated Phantom Troupe member. If you've got a suggestion for a video you'd like me to do, please leave it down below in the comments. And if you want to talk about Feitan, I'm down for that too, so leave it down below in the comments as well. I do Hunter x Hunter videos every single day. Subscribe if you love Hunter x Hunter too. I hope you're all having an incredible day. I wish you all the best. This was Hadrian Gone. Peace out.
못 떠나 나